My name is Sankalp Hinge. I'm from Little Red Zombies. We are an art outsourcing company. We specialize in character art. Alright. So, who all here play Overwatch? Anybody plays Overwatch? Overwatch players? Awesome. Any Gigantic fans? Gigantic? Oh, great. It's good to see a few. Right? Why I was asking this is because these games have very specific, distinct look to them, right? Their characters look apart from most of the realistic games that we have out there. So things like probably Call of Duty, that's all I can think of right now. But they are set apart because their characters look unique in color, style, and aesthetic, right? So my talk is going to be about my process of how I approach stylized characters, and there is no hard and fast rule, so whatever you could note down, note it down. So I'll be dividing this talk into three phases. First I'll give you a general definition of stylization, then I'll talk about my process, and maybe a few problems that'll be coming up. Before that, any students here? Oh God, there are a lot of students here. Okay, I know a few industry veterans sitting back. Alright, that's great. So, before I start off, again, I'll give you a disclaimer. This is something I've learned through several years of working in this industry, and you don't have to follow it exactly, right? You can tweak the methods, you can make it very distinct to yourself, whatever it is, right? And I have throat problems, so I might cough once in a while. Alright, so to define stylized characters, I'll divide it stylized and character. So stylized would be something representing a non-naturalistic conventional form. And when I read this, I was like, what the hell, I really don't know what this is. So to put it in simple words, this is a heart, right? And this is a heart. So the thing is that we know that the conventional form of heart is this. But then when we stylize it to something more iconic, it becomes this. And it conveys the message much more broader. So the fact about stylization is, as long as there is the object is represented in a stylistic way where you know what the original form is, if you put it simply, right? And a character would be a character would be something which embodies moral and mental qualities of an individual, right? So let's see, to give you an example would be if one of us comes in, meets each other, like suppose I meet one of you guys. So I would probably in my head start thinking of distinct features that that person has, right? So if, I don't know, if you guys come up to me and say, hey, this guy, he wears glasses, he has a beard, he's short, he's skinny, he wears beads. So that's qualities that are distinct to me. That is what is defining this character. So overall, stylized characters are such that there are things that are so distinct to them that you can differentiate them from others, right? And stylization doesn't really have a specific definition, to be exact, although I did define it, but stylized character does not have a definition. There's a broad spectrum. It's from white to black, right? So we have things like Bravely Default here, which is like a chibi stylized style. Team Fortress, of course. Any Team Fortress fans here? Awesome. Okay, so we have a Gigantic character, I'm sure Gigantic fans will know. Dragon Ball Z, I think the newest installation. And these last ones are somewhat at the realism side, right? Hellblade is one new game that's come out, which is again to the realistic side. Quantum Break again towards the realistic side. But we have Final Fantasy here, which is like bridging the gap, right? It's somewhere where it is stylized, but it's also realistic. So you have absurd things going on with their look, feel, their clothing, which does not really exist in reality. but still you can say that, you know, it's still stylistic in a certain sense. So it's a wide spectrum. So you can't actually define stylized characters. Again, oh crap. Yeah, any Nathan Drake fans here? Okay, so you guys know Nathan Drake, right? This is the real version of him, I mean the most realistic version of him, which is in the game, and then you have the mobile version. So all the essence of this character is carried forward into this, in the mobile version game, right? You have his hairstyle, you have his jawline, his look, his facial features, you have his gun holster, everything that's carried on, right? The whole essence of the character is in this, right? In part 2 I'll give you like a breakdown of my sketches and how I approach them, and I'll give you a case study also, like examples of what I've done. So this is the scribbling stage. Before I start off with this, my inspirations usually are from cartoons like Gravity Falls. Any of you guys know Gravity Falls? Okay, great, they're fans. So there's Gravity Falls, there's Over the Garden Wall, right? So they're these very unique characters. So my inspiration was from them. So their universe is quite distinct. So in this stage, what I do is I usually end up like drawing a lot of doodles, just scribbling them on the computer, and it's very spontaneous. I don't really think much. This is like a little more clarified version of whatever they are. I have a more scribbly version which I'll show it to you later. So I am also thinking of things like a little bit of their what's going on with them. So that's how what helps me in putting in props also. So basic thing in this stage is that as much as possible, just dump all your ideas on paper or on your digital platform, right? At the same time, I was thinking of the backstory. Like, what's up with this character? Like, what's going on? Like, what gender is it? What clothing is it wearing? What era? You know, does it have any scars, or does it have any distinct features? Like, does it walk wonky? Is it an animal, or is it, I don't know, some hybrid? So this is going simultaneously in my head while I'm drawing, right? So I'm thinking of a small backstory. It can be a write-up. It can be something that you have in your head which will better explain your character, because you have to understand that the previous slide is little more refined. But here you're supposed to scribble as much as possible so that this is going to back you up by what the character is, right? Why is there a line? Strange. Unfortunately, there's a line going across. This is also again where I'm thinking of keywords. So what happens is sometimes you are so oversaturated with ideas, you don't know what to put on. You're already done that, somebody's already done that, or whatever. So what I do is I take up random phrases and then I mash them together, and then it helps me ideate, right? So things like let's see, the one-eyed owl, right? So I would think, okay, the one-eyed owl, how do you get the scar? So I'll think of a backstory of it. So I think, okay, maybe he was a thief. Okay, if he's a thief, why do you get the scar? Then all that can be put into things he carries, or it carries, or how the behavior of the character is, and I can make up a sketch of that. In this stage, this is actually a general thing where I'm also thinking about silhouettes, right? This is one of the major things that will make your character distinct from each other. So let's see. Obviously, you guys will know this one, right? 2B. Yeah, right. So what is it that makes it so unique? Unique that you could see it in black and white and still know is a silhouette, right? You don't need the inner details, nothing. Okay. So in the sketching process, I usually do line work. I'm not doing silhouettes, but you can go the whole silhouette thing. You can just saw silhouettes and see which silhouette looks good, and then start building on that. So we have other iconic characters, probably like Pac-Man, there's Bomberman, Big Daddy, Link, Yeah, I don't know a few. I don't know this one. I don't know this one. And I don't know this one. But the rest of them I do. But the main thing is silhouettes. Make sure that your silhouettes stand out. If I go, I'll just go back to the slide. Sometimes you will have similar silhouettes, but then they have some distinct features that will pop out, like this part. And then this part, again, this is again similar, but then it's breaking here, right? So these guys, again, I thought like, okay, I want them to look similar. They're like weird monster creatures that have taken over the school or something like that. I don't know. I was just thinking random. And here, again, if you see, there are a few silhouettes which are similar. These probably will be opted out because they don't look that unique. So things like this guy here, probably this guy here, this girl here, or this girl here, you know, or this girl with the moon hat and then the four-hand sitar. So these things are very influential of silhouettes. Even from far away, you will know that this character looks interesting. And when you are going in, if a client is asking for, he'll look out for these sort of things. What is popping out? So if it's a mobile game and stuff like that, you would want to see it on a small screen. So the details wouldn't matter that much sometimes in few games. So you would want something which is a stronger silhouette. Yeah, so this is one important thing. I have a case study for this character coming up next, I'll show you. But this is a reference sheet I made for a character which was an orc samurai. So I had to get references. So I started getting different samurai images that I could find, which I thought was interesting. And I had to keep in mind that I wanted to keep my references very precise. They shouldn't be overshooting. I wouldn't go off track all of a sudden. So I wanted an orc that is a samurai, not the other way around, right? So I took up samurai references, some patterns, some symbols, and obviously the katana and an inspiration image. I did a similar thing for another character. It was a cat pirate. So again, I mashed up two words. I didn't know what to do, so I just mashed up two terms. I'm like, okay, cat pirate. That's what I'm doing right now. So reference is important. I collect this after I'm done with the scribbling and I'm okay with the silhouettes and all that, where I'm saying, okay, I'm going to go ahead with this character and I'm going to color it. So this is where I select the reference, and I'm also making sure that I have some color references because obviously orc is going to be green, so I'm just taking one color. So I do something like this where I have the one character which I'll make multiple color schemes of, right? So I'm usually playing around with whatever looks good. You have to have color harmony. That's one of the main important things while coloring. And after this stage, you're going on to finalizing it. So rendering it to whatever end you have to go to. So this one is like a warmer tone. This is a mix with a nice yellow blast. This is a cool, again, this is again a warmer tone. So you got to know the difference between a warm tone and a cool tone, right? So play around with colors, make sure they have color harmony and they don't go over the top. So I think the next one is examples. So this is how actually the scribble looks like. So I did this sheet where I was thinking of stylistic characters. There wasn't exactly a definition. I was just told you just make something out of your head. So I was like, okay. And you will see how I mean, it's very rough, right? You don't even have facial detail. A lot of it is not visible also. But silhouette-wise, a few of them read better than the others. So I think we chose this cat pirate guy, this Egyptian bull. This is the orc samurai. I think we chose these two, and then this Yakuza lady. So after that, I went through the whole iteration process of making more variations of them, obviously. And you will see the cat pirate here again. This is where I'm also getting the references right now, because I'm refining the sketch. So we have things like, okay, I'm not sure if, okay, fine. So we have things like, I put a gun here. There are subtle differences in each one of them. So you can see the peg leg here is wooden, and then we have an anchor peg leg here. We have, again, this is one Egyptian goddess lady. So her hair was the main thing. So her silhouette is pretty much standing out from all the others. So each one of them have a unique look. and if they were in a world, they would stay together. That is what it is. This is the orc samurai. You will see how rough the sketch is here. It was just the idea, and I had the backstory, and I pitched it. I said I wanted to look like an orc samurai, and we went on that, and I started making some variations. So we have a noble samurai, we have a rogue samurai, and then a warrior, and then I did like a mix of both of them, like a few samurai elements. So I added like a gauntlet, maybe weird skull here, but I don't think we went with the skull. And this is the color variation that I did, just seeing which colors look good and which would look better if we actually went forward in rendering it. So I think we went with the first one. So this is the last push that we gave, and this is the final image that we came up with. I don't think we've started 3D part on this, but this is the end result of it all. So I have the symbols here, the references that I took, right? I have the samurai sword, I have all the orc elements that are required, I have the gauntlets and all that, and you'll see that this here and then this here has a few subtle differences where the hilt is bigger, the sword is bigger, I've put a symbol here, I've changed his face and all. So don't be afraid to change on the fly. Like what happens is when I'm doing it, I kind of see mistakes. I flip the image, I make sure I flip it most of the time because your eye gets so used to seeing the image, you think everything is correct, right? So I usually flip the image, take some constructive feedback also. Don't always be like, take it as criticism, but if your colleagues or your friends are giving something which actually makes sense, make sure you try to do the change and see if it actually makes a difference. Another example would be this. At our office, there was this Dark Souls 3 craze going on, and you're like, we've got to make characters on Dark Souls, I don't care. I was like, okay, fine. And they told, let's do a Dark Souls inspired. Anybody does not know Dark Souls? Anybody familiar with Dark Souls? Dark Souls, you guys know, right? Yeah. So Dark Souls is a very grim game. I don't know how to put a timeline on it. It's somewhere medieval, and you die a lot, basically. That's all I can tell you. Okay, it's a very difficult game. Okay, and the lore is pretty. I think it's a mix of European things like that. So. Okay. Yeah. So so the idea was make a stylized version of your characters in Dark Souls, and the stories are very sad actually. One dies for love, one dies for honor, one dies for something, and then they become demons. That's how the basic gist of it is. Now I didn't play much to give you a backstory on that, but from what I got, I started making sketches. And while I'm doing this, I'm thinking of weird and wacky things that could fit in their universe. So maybe the first one, this guy, it's not really visible, but he has 4 hands, right? There's 2 here, which is holding the small emblem, or rather a gem. And the idea behind it, what I was thinking was, he's actually greedy for his own feelings. So he's always like a dull character. He's not showing any emotion, and he's empowered that gem and put all his emotions in there. So this is where I'm also thinking of the backstory and all that. So it's going in the character while I'm drawing it. So it helps me build the character even more. So things like that. So we have this character is what we went ahead with, right? Okay, I'll explain 1 or 2 maybe. This guy I thought of like you know, the jokers that were there in the medieval times. I forgot what it's called, jester. Yeah. Anyway, the jokers who would make fun, but then this guy was a trickster. He would always give you riddles, and then he would try to get you apart from the. He would stray you apart. And this one was like a weird mushroom demon who's a forest guardian or something like that. But in the end, although these were most of them liked all these characters, but we thought we'll go out with this guy here. So he was a representation of death, is what I thought, and he had like a weird symbolic tombstone on his head, right? And he would either give you the path to freedom or he would trap you. So that was the idea that you go on. And so I did like a color variation, a few changes in the head, maybe scars here and there, but we like this one which looked like a tombstone. So I did another few variations of them, where he has a hood and he has his weird demon horns, and then he's a skull with like skin hood on him. So in the end, we went with this. This didn't go in like a very refined path. This was it, but we did a 3D model of it, and I know it's a little dark here, but okay. We did a 3D model of it, and I was able to paint him in Substance, which is pretty fun. So most of the 2D things were carried forward into this, making sure that this character is stylized even in 3D form, even in silhouette in 3D. So we'll come to the third stage where no artist will really do their artwork without problems, right? You're always going to get stuck somewhere and then say, no man, I'm going to just play video games and then not think about it for a while. I do that. So yeah, I mean, we do have our problems. Even now, I do face a little problems. I have to take a break and think about what exactly it is, figure it out, and solve it. But for newcomers, you could have things like references. A lot of time, what happens is when I was studying, right, I would be like, I have an idea, and then I put it on paper. It looks like it doesn't look good. That's because I don't have the visual memory in order to make the character how it is in my mind. It takes time, it takes a lot of reference, looking at references, drawing them, sketching them out, putting them in their head literally. All the muscle memory, it goes to your head, right? So you need to have references, and on top of that, you have to make sure that you don't have too many references or you have too less references, right? Now obviously if you're doing a realistic character, if the client says, no, I want this character exactly like this with all the things, then you got to say, nahi, main karunga, theek hai. But then if you're doing something, usually that doesn't happen also. Even in the industry, they would give other references for like other structures of the body, like maybe a gun or a helmet or something that will make it look unique, right? So you don't want to just go off one image, I'm going to follow this exactly. So look at a few, have a good reference sheet, and make sure that is true to your sketches, right? And you wouldn't want too many of them, because sometimes what happens is you get too carried off. This looks cool, this looks cool, this looks cool, dal do, sheet mein dal do, chalo, bhar do usko, acha dikh raha hai ye. Don't do that. Make sure you have exactly what you want and your vision is clear. Nahi to you'll stray your path. You will not think about your character, you will think about how you'll make it cool, right? So but to give you another example of this is, sometimes there are characters that will require a lot of references because they have too many elements in them. Now for stylization, basically you are simplifying the forms and making it look good, right? But sometimes you want a little few elements in them. So what we would do is we would categorize them. Suppose if you want weapons, you would have a separate sheet for weapons. If you have shoes, you would have a separate sheet for shoes. Clothing, separate sheet for clothing. So it wouldn't overpower one whole sheet. So when you're working on one part, you can use that sheet, use that as a reference sheet, and then do what you have to. And ideation happens from this also. It's not like everything should come from your head. You would look at one of these images, and secondly, you'll see another image, and then you'll be like, okay, these two things, if I mash it together, it might look good. So that's how you ideate also. So reference sheet is important. Of course, you wouldn't be an artist without anatomy study, right? I mean, I struggled. I had to take a break and then again get back to the basics and do studies and then come back and start working again because I was severely lacking in the anatomy skills required to whatever professional work I was doing. So what I did was, great. So what I did was, I looked at some online tutorials. I looked at Proco. God, I forgot the other name. Cynics Design. These are all YouTube channels. There are a few books. Burn Hogat, Aditya Chari is also good. There are a few other books which you can refer to. But how I broke it down is, I did my sketches for gesture, anatomy, structure, form. Right. These are important aspects while doing, especially while doing stylized characters, because you'll know when to break them. If you don't know how the structure, form or anatomy of your character is, you will not know how much you can push your character in silhouette and structure. So what I would do is I would do like 30-second gesture studies, then a minute gesture studies, then I would do 5 minutes, and then I would do more 5 minutes, and then maybe I'll add muscles over it and stuff like that. I did muscle study. I started remembering the names. I started trying to see what muscle goes where it starts, where it ends. So I'll know if my gesture is going wrong somewhere, I'll know that my muscle is also going wrong there. So what I did was I took up live images, references of models, and after the study of my muscles, I started drawing over them without looking, of course. So I know where the muscles are. This is how you will train your mind to get that visual memory, right? So you guys should do this. It's important regardless of you're doing stylized characters or not, right? Lastly, I would say is you need to find balance in your character, right? So what happens is, as I told you before, you might take a reference sheet, this looks cool, put it on this. That happens with while you're drawing also. You might end up putting too many elements in your character, overpowering it, and it would not look like what your original idea was. Or you put so less elements in them that you don't know what the character is all about. There are a few exceptions, by the way, but to give it a general idea, that's what you need to understand, how objects will balance, where you have to give it, where you have to give your drawing space to breathe, so that you're not overpowering with guns, weapons, everything just because it looks cool, right? So I think this is it. So in the end, I would like to tell you guys that you guys will sketch a lot. Make sure you brush up your anatomy skills. That's like really important. Silhouette, structure, form. Get your reference sheet right. It's okay to go wrong, because there was a time where I wouldn't get the exact drawing I wanted from my head, so I would get frustrated. It's okay to get frustrated. Just keep going at it. Just keep going at it. One more point I would like to make in the anatomy part is, sometimes what I would do is I would draw whatever model I was drawing, and when I know something is wrong, I'll mark it out. I'll draw the same model again. I'll do it repeatedly for a while. I'll do it without looking. I'll do it sometimes with looking. So you're training your mind to know what is going wrong, and you not repeating it again. That's how you're going to train your mind. So this is the end. I hope, I think this was a little quicker than the previous one. I hope it was informative. You guys have any questions? You can shoot. Any questions, guys? Anything you want to know about the sketches? Anything? 3D modeling, but I haven't indulged in it that much. But I did go into some of the 3D texturing side. But if you're choosing to do that, it'll be a good package. It'll be like you're doing concept art and you're also doing 3D modeling, so it'll be like a good, nice package. So I mean, it's up to you to choose. Like if you're able to go ahead with that, it's great. If you're able to like, if you want to just concentrate on one thing, fine. But it's like a plus point in the industry. That's what I would say.
Can you please more explain about the anatomy?
Yeah, sure. What do you want to know about the anatomy part? Anything specific that you want to ask? Okay. What exactly? How are you getting stuck? If you can explain, like you're doing something and you're getting stuck, you're drawing your hand, you're getting stuck, or what is it?
That part I didn't find out.
Okay, so how do you approach, like if I give you this model to draw, like one of these models, how would you approach it? Like what would you do first?
First I will make a line sketch.
Okay, and the line sketch would be how? Will it be the line of action, or will it be just basic forms?
Basic form. Sometime if I know the requirement, I will do the action part also.
Okay, so I'll tell you how I go about it, right? I already explained this part, but this is different than this, right? This is gesture drawing. This is to understand the look and feel of the form, and it's not about copying the exact character here. It's about getting the feel of how the things are positioned and how the character looks if I draw it, right? Now here is somewhere where I'm actually looking at structure. This is form, this is structure, right? So here I am looking at how objects in simplified forms will stack over each other. So if I have to draw, have to draw the leg here, I will draw two cylinders, okay, this and this, and then I'll draw a circle here. So that will make my structure, and then this gesture will help me outline it. You get it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So you have to divide your anatomy into studies. So you would have gesture studies and you'll have form studies. If you look at Proko, PROK, you guys can write it down. It's on YouTube. So he gives tutorials on how to approach study, and he has few lessons that he tells you can start off with, right? So he does bean, he does robo bean, he does gesture, form, line of action, all those things he tells you. So you can do his exercises, and then it's a proper step-by-step guide. So I followed that, and I was able to like come to whatever stage I'm at right now. Is that clear?
Thank you.
Yeah, cool. So I am actually using Photoshop for this majorly, nothing else. But for the 3D model that I textured, I used Substance Painter. That's like the industry standard now. Any questions? You can ask in Hindi or Telugu. Telugu I understand a little bit. It's fine. There's no issues. Yeah, yeah.
So is it like for a specific character that you actually make separate reference
Yeah,
sheets,
yeah,
or do
yeah.
you like just have like separate reference sheet, and while designing characters sometimes you like refer to someone else's characters or like
Yeah, so the thing is, it's okay to refer somebody else's character. I used to think, नहीं यार कैसे होगा यार, copy हो जाएगा, and होता था वो. So you just copy it, and you're like, why does mine look like his? So it's okay, if you want to divide it, it would be something like, for each specific character that I make, I do have an individual reference sheet, right? And sometimes you have these art dumps. What we do is we take an art dump, like recently we did like a Doom art dump where these guys who put up Doom artwork, and we just put that. So they're good reference sheet in case in future we're making something like some similar to Doom. Then we would take those and we're like, okay, this looks good, this looks good, this looks good. So it's the thing is, artwork is never going to be original. You're just going to take it and then you're going to make somewhat yours. Okay, like you're going to put certain elements in them which will look distinct to you. So style comes there. Style comes there. So reference sheet you have for each individual one of them. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Any more questions, guys? Yeah. Hindi में भी पूछ सकते हो. Telugu also I quite understand. So if you're afraid of asking, please do, don't be.
Hey, so whenever I start designing a character,
Okay.
so I always want it to be fun.
Okay.
But what happens is that I end up making it more realistic than what I
Okay.
think of.
Okay.
It happens to me a lot.
Okay. Okay. I accidentally skipped forward. Okay. And I was like, what would combine art and what would look good on a t-shirt? I thought obviously Vitruvian Man is like the classic example. If you guys know, Vitruvian Man is the drawing by Leonardo da Vinci, right? So I thought, what if I make it fun? This is how I made it fun. So our company name is Little Red Zombies. Obviously this is not red, but it's green, but there's a zombie. So you got to think of subtle elements that will actually look good or funny to people. What happens is your influences that you have from what you watch, what you read, will also help you give your ideas, right? So as I told you in the beginning, I play games like Gigantic and Overwatch. Actually Overwatch I haven't played much, but Gigantic I'm a big fan of. And I watch cartoons like Over the Garden Wall and all. They have a distinct audience. They have a very niche audience, and they know their jokes. Gravity Falls is another one. So there are these fun elements in them that you grasp subconsciously and put them in your artwork. So your influences are also important. Suppose if you're looking at action movies all the time and you're not looking at the cartoon hai yaar, kaun dekhta hai isko. So that if you keep it aside, then all your artwork might turn out to be like that. So you got to start thinking and developing that mindset. Plus on top of that, also look at other artists. I would say just look at other artists on ArtStation, on Behance. Just look them up. What you think is interesting, what you thought is actually funny, and then you can incorporate those sort of elements. It's okay to copy once in a while, but once you start doing that, in the process you start ideating also. So the reason why I make so many sketches is also so that I'm not caught up on that making one character. I'm making others also with other ideas pertaining to that universe. So you got to make more, you got to draw more, take influences, look at other artwork, take influences from them and start sketching. So making fun is not a small part of it, it's a wider thing. Does that answer your question?
Well,
Alright, cool. Any more question, guys?
Nice character that you made. So did you use some, what kind of PBR texture map did you use for texturing that character? Or is it fully hand painted?
Oh, this one is not PBR. This one we use a 4K texture, and I'm a little what do you say? I'm not much into the 3D side of things. So what I would say is this is probably like 20,000 to 30,000 the poly count, triangle count, and this is all hand painted, by the way, in Substance Painter. So there's no PBR in this at the moment because there's no metal stuff in it, right? So PBR is physical based rendering, right? So metals would be metals and glass substances, reflective surfaces would be there. So we don't have much in it. We have emissive in this, if you know what emissive is, right? So emissive is the God, this thing is actually very dark. But then emissive here is the glowing parts here, here, and we have some SSS happening here. That is subsurface scattering. But yeah, we didn't use any of that PBR in this, right? Alright, any more questions? Any more questions, guys? No? Alright, I'll be here for a while anyways, so if you guys are feeling shy or something like that, you can come up to me and ask me questions, that's okay. And thank you all for being a great audience.